Welcome to Sports Psychology and to Fordham's Summer Session 1. For the first time, all online. I've taught this course many times, and this is the first time online. I'm really looking forward to it because in preparing the materials for this format, it's occurred to me that it could be better than ever. And we know from sports that challenging, difficult situations can be occasions to bring the best out of all of us. And I hope that's what we can do in building a learning community together here in the late part of May and June to bring the full spectrum of resources in psychology to bear and to help us understand what sports are all about. And also to use sports, which are just such a unique human activity, to shed light on psychology and on human life in general. But right now I want to introduce you to the course, the nuts and bolts, to walk you through the syllabus. We'll be meeting live and in real time on Tuesday at 1 o'clock, and I look forward to going around and learning a little bit about each of you then, and I'll talk a little bit about myself too, and give you an introduction to sports psychology. But right now I want you to know a little bit about the course itself and how we're going to do it. You can read the syllabus at your leisure. It starts with a course description, which I love this course. It's great. And rather than reiterating it all right here, I'll let you read it in your own time. But I do want to say a little bit about the books and the readings. And so we'll go to the required texts. We do use a textbook in this course, and although I'm not fond of textbooks, I have to say that this textbook by Weinberg and Gould in sports psychology is absolutely my favorite because Weinberg and Gould are real leaders in the field. They're great researchers. They're really smart. They have an understanding of the inner dimensions of the subject matter, in this case sports and psychology, that's really rare in textbook writers. So we're going to cover the full spectrum of the psychology of sports, both covering the theories, the methods, the research findings, but also the practical applications, how psychologists help athletes achieve the best results they can, and also the most enjoyable results. But we have a lot of really interesting supplemental readings in this course too, in the area of children and childhood and youth experiences in sports. In the psychoanalysis, the depth psychology, the unconscious and symbolic meanings of sports. And in spirituality and sports, these are areas that are not usually taken up in sports psychology courses, but I found some incredible books that will allow us to explore those unique dimensions of the sport experience. All those readings are online and in Blackboard so that you can access them very easily. The one thing that you'll need to purchase is the Weinberg and Gould textbook. I've been teaching it ever since its third edition, and it's now in the seventh. You can get any one of these editions. They'd all be fine for this course. I'm really focusing on basic concepts and applications, and they are there in all these editions. The brand new one in 2019, the 7th edition, is great. It's available electronically and in hard copy. So get any one of these that you like. And actually, I've copied PDFs of one of the editions and put it on Blackboard for the first week of class. So for the first week, you'll have the chapters on personality and motivation available with the supplemental readings on Blackboard in case it takes you a little while, a week or so, to get your own textbook. But moving forward into the course itself, we have a hybrid format, and all summer classes are using the same format, which I think is going to make it easy for students. And what I've found in working with it is that it's a great way to do a summer course. It's organized in modules, 5 modules, 1 each week. And that goes through Monday through Sunday. Each module will include readings. You students will be writing journals, an entry on each reading. We'll have discussions on Blackboard, and then we'll have a synchronous in-class Zoom meeting Monday through Thursday at 1 o'clock for an hour and a half, and then for those who want to stay on for another half hour of question and answers, that's an optional session. And also each week we'll have a take-home exam that you can do at your leisure at home and really dig into it. So the asynchronous elements of the course involve that Blackboard discussion, and you'll see the topics for discussion in each of the modules. I really want to encourage you to take a look at these key concepts, test yourself, see if you understand them based on the readings, define them, ask questions, any questions you want. You can receive instruction on difficult material in the Blackboard discussion sessions, share personal experiences. This is a course where we really thrive on personal experiences. And so I really encourage you to bring them in and to use the Blackboard discussion to really connect with each other as students and to connect with me as the professor. And it's also going to be an opportunity to give you a chance to give me feedback and suggestions on how the classes, how various elements of the course can be done better. And I'll do everything I can to make this a great experience for you. I also want to talk a little bit about the reading journals. You'll be writing a journal entry for each reading. That'd be pretty much two each day. And the reading journal should have two parts to them. First, simply identify what you find most important in the reading or most interesting, and give an exposition of it. Explain it as clearly and well as you can, as if you're explaining it to somebody who doesn't know anything about sports psychology and who hasn't read the reading. And then talk about what it is that makes it important, why you find it interesting, and also include a reflection, an example from observation, from your personal experience, maybe a practical application of the insight, or some connection with other ideas you've gotten in other courses or things you've thought about. And then the last part, very brief, of each journal entry is to identify what you find most difficult in the reading. And these journals will be turned in before 11 o'clock in the morning, before each class, and I'll read them through so I know what you find difficult, and we'll have the opportunity to help you with those difficulties during our Zoom session. Moving forward to examinations, there are 5 take-home exams, as I mentioned. You'll get them after our last class on Thursday night, maybe on late Thursday night or on Friday. And you'll have till Sunday, almost till before midnight, to turn in your answers. And these will be good because they'll give you plenty of time to think, to write, to use all the books and the materials. I've included in your study materials really good PowerPoints of every chapter in the Weinberg and Gould text, really comprehensive and helpful. And then PowerPoints on all the supplemental readings, and they're all in each of the modules where the readings are as well. And you can use them to make sense, to pose questions, and to discuss, and to write journals on. There's also a term paper in the course, which is a really interesting one. It's really about interrelating the great knowledge of athletes, coaches, sports media, filmmakers, writers, non-psychologists, their knowledge and insights about sports, which I think are tremendous and have so much to teach us, relating those to the insights and knowledge of the scientists, the psychologists. And so the term paper is a dialogue between lay and everyday experiential knowledge of sports and scientific knowledge of psychologists. What I'd like you to do in the term paper is to pick either a book, a popular book on sports, maybe written by an athlete or a coach or an observer, a fan, a media person, a historian, or You can take a film of sports, one of the great sports movies. We all have our favorites, and there's so many amazing sports movies. I list some of them here. Remember the Titans, A League of Their Own, He Got Game, Rudy, Rocky, Girl Fight, Miracle, Field of Dreams, Breaking Away, Pride of the Yankees. And then look at that movie through sports psychology. Use the concepts of the textbook, of our discussions, of the supplemental readings, and one extra article that you find especially relevant to this book or movie in the scientific sports literature. So it could be a book, it could be an article, something that's relevant from outside of the course, and use that as a way to understand and shed light on your topic. We can talk more about this term paper as we go, and in our synchronous sessions we'll go around and each talk about the possibilities. We can talk about films, we can talk about books. I list a whole bunch of books here which I think are terrific, but please don't be limited to them. There's a book by Neil Armstrong who's incredible. It's not about the bike. My Journey Back to Life. A great athlete who had cancer and fought his way back into being a world champion bicyclist. But also Bill Bradley's amazing book, Values of the Game. There's Zen and the Art of Archery. There's Phil Jackson's tremendous book, Sacred Hoops, Spiritual Lessons for a Hardwood Warrior. Bill Bradley's amazing book. Bill Bradley, great forward in basketball at Princeton, All-American, and wonderful Hall of Famer in professional basketball for the New York Knicks. Also a Rhodes Scholar from Princeton, and a senator, United States Senator, and a candidate for the Democratic nomination for president, which I remember I actually heard Bill Bradley speak when I was in high school back in the mid-1960s, and he's brilliant. So he has a great book, and there are so many good ones. I think part of the problem with the term paper is choosing one because there are so many, and so many great films. So hopefully everybody will find something they really like to do with their term paper, and we'll share all these. There will be a presentation in our last class in which all students will take some time to present what they learned in their term paper. And I'm sure you'll find that, as I do, to be one of the great highlights of the course, because we reap all the fruits and benefits of what all the students have been exploring through this session. The grading is very straightforward. It's in quarters. 1/4 of the grade will be the exams, and that's 25%. Since there are 5 modules, each take-home exam will be worth 5%. The journals will also be worth 5% for each module, 25, 1/4 in all. And the term paper will be 25%. And then participation will be 25%. That will be based on your attendance, your participation in the Blackboard discussions, your contributions to the synchronous interaction in our Zoom meetings, and then the presentation of the final term paper. Here you'll have the schedule of assignments, and you'll see that each week, like the first module, we'll read that first chapter on personality in Weinberg and Gould. We'll start to look at children's sports through Rick Wolf, who's an amazing writer, a professional baseball player, a college coach of baseball, a guy who's had summer camps, and he's on FAN every Sunday morning, The Sports Edge, talking with parents, officials, coaches, and many people about how to make the sports experience great for kids. We'll read about motivation, and then we'll read about spirituality in sports, an amazing book by Michael Murphy and Rhea White, in which we'll study sports and mystical experiences, which is an area that students at first may find very strange, very odd, and a little bit over the top. But what I find is that this aspect of the course often becomes one of the most interesting and important for students by the time we finish. And I see so much from this area in students' term papers that it really gratifies me to know how much students take this spiritual dimension of sports in, which is very appropriate for Fordham, a Jesuit university, where we take religiosity so seriously. So you can see in each of these modules what you'll be reading, and there'll also be each class discussions, and for each class there will be key concepts that we'll go over. You can ask questions, get clarifications on all of that. And we go through these modules. And then finally, at the end, I give you an extended reading list of professional literature. You may have been wondering when I was talking about the term paper, well, where do we get these scientific works that may relate to our book or our movie? And how do we relate that to them? Well, here I've given you a lot of extended recommended reading, and you can see what kinds of scientific articles may be related to your topic. But you'll also find many references in the Weinberg and Gould text. It's got, for virtually every topic in sports psychology, numerous references of experiments, theory, methods, and all kinds of really interesting things that I know you will be able to connect very easily and well with your term paper topic. So that's the purpose of this. Let me end now just by telling you a little bit about next week when we get together live. First, what we'll do is we'll go around the class and each student will introduce himself or herself. Tell us your name that you'd like to be called, so we all can get to know you. Let us know what your hometown is, or if you don't have one, what the circumstances of your life have been that have not let you call any one place, your hometown. Tell us a little bit about your connection with sports. And in this class, we've had so many different kinds of students, ranging from elite athletes themselves to people who played sports as kids and remember it fondly, but haven't played since. And then some students who have never played sports at all. There was one student who babysat children who played sports, and she had never played, but was curious about what these kids were going through, so she took the course. And we also have non-athletes, like dancers and actors. And what we find is that really sports, the principles underlying sports, can apply to any realm of performance and really any realm of life, because sports really are a microcosm of life. So even if you haven't had much experience with sports, you'll learn about them in this class, and we welcome you and want to hear about your background and what you've been doing in school and at Fordham and what you have in mind for the future. You know, one other last thing that I want to keep in mind in this course is that we're living in such extraordinary times now with this coronavirus and these challenging times. I want to give each of you just a little opportunity to talk about that, how it's affected you, how it's affected your family to the extent that you're comfortable sharing those personal experiences with the class. But we can also talk about our culture, our society, and the world, and the challenges that this time has brought out. And I hope that's something that we can do throughout the semester, throughout the session, to be looking at the world through the lens of what we're learning in psychology and in sports. Because here, too, we have a great challenge, and with good fortune and hopefully even perhaps a spiritual perspective, we can rise and transcend the suffering and the crisis and take it as a challenge and an opportunity to make ourselves better and even to make the world a better place. I think it's come out a lot in the media, and people have been talking about it. I know I've heard it and have talked about it with others, and I'm really interested in your thoughts about how we can use this really unusual time of being sheltered at home and isolated to understand how we can make the world a better place. So with that, I will bid you farewell and look forward to meeting you in live time at 1 o'clock on Tuesday.